All right, we are recording. All right, you guys, so thanks for joining us. This is our second Wildcat Wednesday. This is supermarket edition. So all the wines that we are tasting today have been purchased in Ellensburg or the surrounding areas. Yakima, potentially. I think it's all actually in Ellensburg. We'll talk about that when we get into it. So we're just going to be talking about our local selection, what each store has to offer, and just analyzing what these guys picked out and maybe breaking it down a little bit as to why they gravitated towards the wine that they did. So I think we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to go in order from lightest to heaviest. So we're starting off with Sauvignon Blanc, and we have one more person to add real quick. So we are going to start off with Mackenzie Boyce, and she's going to talk to us about her selection.
Hi guys, today I chose a Sauvignon Blanc. It's a Sol de Chile 2019 Sauvignon Blanc. I chose this because of the label. I like the simplicity of it. The logo looks really beautiful with the glowing color on it, kind of a green, bluish turquoise. But I went to a grocery outlet to make my purchase. I wanted to have a more affordable wine. So I went in there. They have a huge selection of wine. I think in the front of the store, they have a bottom shelf with sparkling. They have, I feel like they base their shelves off of where their wine is from. I do know that they get a lot of overstock from other stores, so that's another reason why they have more affordable wines. This one was $4.99, and regular price is $10.99, so I thought that was a steal for a wine. But I'll get right into it. The color I'm going to hold up against white paper is more of like a straw yellow. The meniscus is very clear on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and swirl it, and I'll see what I get on the nose. I get a lot of citrus, lemongrass, kind of an herbal smell as well. I'm going to try on the palate now. I get a little note of pineapple. I get gooseberry as well, and I taste the lemongrass. But this seems like a more acidic Sauvignon Blanc.
Glitch out a little bit.
Can you hear me now? Okay, medium bodied, more acidity, I said. But something I would pair this with is kind of like a spring salad with a strawberry vinaigrette, or even like a shellfish dish, like a shrimp scampi. And if you were having a charcuterie board, I feel like goat cheese would go really well with this as well. It balance out the taste especially. It has a very strong finish on my palate, longer than 10 seconds it seems like. But this is definitely not your average Sauvignon Blanc in my opinion. I like the more fruitier Sauvignon Blanc's fruit basket aromas as well. But I looked this up on Vivino, and it has a 3.3 star rating on it. And yeah.
Nice. Okay, so just to recap, you paid $4.99, and what was the standard price?
$9.99.
$9.99. So that's a really nice price reduction right there. So for that, are you happy with what you received?
I am happy. I did purchase this bottle prior also to try it out, and I got a completely different aroma from it, more of a cat pee smell, which is actually a aroma you can get from Sauvignon Blancs, but it was very strong in that first one. This one is actually a lot more fruit forward for me.
Interesting. It'd be interesting to maybe even grab a third bottle at some point and just see if there is consistency issues, or if that's just, par for the course.
Yeah.
Fun. Okay, so that was Grocery Outlet from Mackenzie. So next up, we're going to go over to Carly Brown. She also has a Sauvignon Blanc that she's going to talk to us about. So Carly, go ahead and jump in and tell us what you found.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm also going to be tasting a Sauvignon Blanc. I found this at Fred Meyer's. It's going to be the 19 Crimes Sauvignon Blanc. I was able to purchase this bottle for $8.99, but it was actually on sale, so it was originally going to be $12.99, so I got this on a deal as well. And there was a couple reasons why this bottle kind of jumped out to me. Kind of like what Kenzie was saying, packaging is a lot to me. A lot of the reason why I will reach or gravitate towards a bottle is because of the packaging and how it looks and kind of like that. So I've seen this bottle in the store before, not this one specifically, but this brand for sure, the 19 Crimes. And it's always been interesting because, you know, you can kind of see like there is a prisoner here, and a little bit of background information on this winery itself is the English used to send their prisoners to Australia if they committed one of the 19 crimes that were perishable by this, if that makes sense, what I'm kind of trying to say. And so on each different bottle, they have a different prisoner and then what crime they committed. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then the second reason why I chose this bottle is because it is in a green burgundy bottle. So a lot of the times you don't see a white wine in a green bottle at all. They're usually in a more clear or a lighter tint bottle. But I believe part of the reason why that they decided to do it like this is light strike. So what light strike is when a bottle is sitting on a supermarket shelf, the fluorescent lights will come in and affect the pH levels and the acidity levels, and it'll just completely alter the wine and just make it gross, basically. So I think that is part of the reason why they decided to put it in this green bottle. So let's move on to the wine. So on the nose, I get a lot of tropical of like pineapple and leche, as well as a little bit of green mango in there. I also get some peach and citrus like lemon and lime and grapefruit. And so, yeah, it's a very fruit basket wine, like Kenzie was saying. It's very, very good smelling wine. And then on the palate, slightly acidic. It has a very, probably a medium finish, about 5-6 seconds. You can really taste that acidity and that citrus on your tongue. It kind of makes you salivate a little bit. I think this wine is great for its price point. It's a very good Sauvignon Blanc. And I think it's very true to the Sauvignon style. And yeah, I think this wine is great for what it's worth.
Nice. And so you got that one at Fred Meyer, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I think their setup too, that's kind of something we all looked at too, is their setup. They, on one side, they have all of their domestic and, what's that word?
Imports?
Import, yeah, wines on one side, and then on the other, they're going to be having the boxed wines, the canned wines, the more easily accessible wines for somebody who's like, oh, I'm just going to grab a box wine on my way out, and people who don't really want to spend the time looking for a specific bottle. So, yeah.
Okay, so just to recap, Fred Meyer has one aisle in terms of selection. One side is all your standard 750 milliliter bottles, domestic and import. The other side's all the alternative packaging, right? Like the large format.
We're clearing that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, just recapping.
Yeah.
You want to break down, like, where's the good spots to buy different kinds of wine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So next up is Brian. So Brian, talk to us about what you picked out and where you got it and what you think of it.
Hello, everybody. I got Josh Sellers 2018 Rosé. I picked this up at Safeway for $12.99 club price. And the reason why I got this wine is because Josh Sellers is really consistent with their wines. And they're all pretty good. I've never had a bad batch from them. So I decided, rosé, let's play it safe and enjoy it. I poured a glass, and from what you could tell, it's kind of hard through the video, through the camera, but it's kind of a light pink salmon color. In the video, it looks a little orangish, but it's very beautiful looking. What's on the nose? Oh, wow. I get a lot of notes of very fruity. Is that some strawberry in there, a little bit of raspberry. I also get heavy floral notes of what smells like to be rose petals as well. And on the palate, very crisp wine. The strawberry, the strawberry really comes out very, very forward on the front palate. And then on the very long finish indeed, very juicy, fruity finish. And this is a great wine, especially when summer's right around the corner. It's getting hotter out. 4th of July is coming up. This is a perfect wine to enjoy with friends and family at a barbecue. I would pair this wine with grilled fish, barbecue chicken, maybe some smoked meats. So it's perfect for a day in the park, enjoy some fireworks. Yeah, very delicious wine.
Nice.
Fun, very social wine, in my opinion. You know, that's what I love about rosés. They're very social. They go with any event. It's great.
Nice. So tell us about your shopping experience at Safeway. How did that go for you? How accessible was it?
Well, Safeway has a wide variety of choices of wine. There's about like 3 different aisles, and they have a huge wall of premium select wines. But the rosés can be found in 2 different spots in Safeway. You can find them in the refrigerated section, cold pack. And I was looking there, and I didn't see that many selection, but then I turned around, went down an aisle, and I saw a pretty good selection of rosés there in the aisle. So I was like, oh, look, Josh Cellars, can't go wrong with that. So that's why I decided to buy it.
Nice. Nice. So you can so if you are on your way to someone's house for a barbecue and you need a wine that's already chilled, you can go to Safeway.
Oh, yeah.
Probably even Fred Meyer as well, and grab something already chilled, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like about Safeway is they put, for those of us who don't know that much, they put ratings tags and description tags on the shelf, which Fred Meyer doesn't do. And it helps guide me a little bit if I don't know what particular wine I'm looking for. Yeah,
those they're called shelf talkers, little shelf talkers. Yeah, and they'll tell you little descriptors. I think those are really helpful too. So it's nice. All right, any questions for Brian about Josh Rosé? Any questions for anybody? I might have skipped over the question part. Okay. Well, next up is Curtis, and Curtis is going to talk to us about Sangiovese, correct? Mm-hmm. All right, so jump in, Curtis.
All right, so yeah, I picked out Sangiovese because it's my favorite varietal, so I lean towards that a little bit more. And what I chose is our 2018 Cavatapi Sangiovese, which is a winery based out of, you can't really see it because the lighting in my room is awful. But it's out of Walla Walla, and I got it at Happy's Market, which is here in Ellensburg. The wine selection at Happy's is much more intimate. They have, I would say, almost exclusively Washington wines, because that's like the only Happy's. It's like a family-owned thing. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot of like, there'll be like wine boxes, and there'll be 2 or 3 wines in each wine box. They probably have a total of 25 to 30 wines to choose from. Mm-hmm. But I've always been pretty happy with the selection. I worked at a winery in Yakima, and they had Owen Rowe wines there too. So it's usually a lot more of the local selection, which again, I pick Washington wines because I want to support Washington wineries. So we'll get into the wine. It is super clear for a red wine. You can pretty much see it. I mean, I'll just tell you. You can pretty much just see all the way through it. Mm-hmm. And that immediately to me means it's pretty young, obviously 2018. But it also means it's going to be a little bit lighter. If you can't see all the way through it, it typically means it's going to be a heavier red wine. And then we'll go on the nose. I get a lot of raspberry, a little bit of cranberry, and then a little bit of sweetness, which reminds me of kind of like a dark plum or prune flavor. And then on the palate, yeah, so super light, super drinkable. It's really nice for a hot day. A really nice sour raspberry right at the beginning. And then it tapers off with a medium long finish with a little bit of sweetness, which leaves your mouth watering for a little bit more. And so it punches you right in the face and then tapers off really nicely in the little bit of sweetness just to like catch you up. And yeah, so I would pair this wine. It reminds me a lot of like raspberry sauce that you would have on cheesecake. So, you know, that like little bit of like raspberry drizzling right on top of a cheesecake. That's what it kind of reminds me of. And that's honestly what I would pair it with is a really nice decadent cheesecake or really nice dark chocolate. You have a little bit of dark chocolate, you put this in your mouth and it washes it right away and will smooth it out perfectly.
Nice. Any questions for Curtis?
As far as packaging goes, this wine stain drives me crazy.
See, that's
Oh.
why I
I
picked
hate
it.
it.
So,
let's
any
talk
wine
about
drinker will
that.
tell you. Any wine drinker will tell you what this is. It's a very common thing to see when you're drinking wine. And I thought it was hilarious. That's why I bought it.
Mhm. Yeah, the little stain that you get from the bottom of the glass, like that. If it drips down the side, you get that on your, I don't know, napkin or whatever. Do you not like it because it like is it just aesthetically not like it, or does it obscure your ability to read the label?
It's just, it looks like it's been open and
Too real.
it's lived a hard life before I got to it, and I don't know.
Too real.
If I'm gonna make a mess, it needs to be my mess, not somebody else's.
We need to do another session that is entirely based on label shopping, because that is a topic that we can just break down and analyze for hours. It's always fun for me to look
One of
at
my
that.
favorites too.
Yeah, label design is fascinating. Regarding Happy's though, I'm curious because I've not been in Happy's myself. So just to recap, it sounds like it's a smaller selection, but it's really locally focused. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
So
Okay.
Happy's is, I mean, for the college students, it's kind of just like the place to go get beer. It's like the college, like they sell boba tea there that they make there, and they have like it's kind of like a small little liquor store, if you will. They have every sort of alcohol out there, so their wine selection is fairly small because they're more focusing on the like more accessible, like easy drinking beers, every single seltzer on the planet, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think I wanted to go in there and try it, and yeah, it was definitely Washington focused, which I really like supporting Washington wineries. So.
Absolutely. Price point wise, do you feel like they have a higher end selection of local stuff, or do they keep it within a range? Like, could you get a $50 bottle there if you wanted to?
I wouldn't say 50. I would say it's not the cheaper stuff, so it's not like the grocery outlet discount wines. This one was $12 at Happy's when I got it. So I would say anywhere between 12 to the Owen Row wine I saw there is about 30. So that's kind of the range they're going for, is the like medium class, like, you know, a little bit about wine. It's not going to be bad, you know, kind of that you're going to get a fairly good wine, but most of the time.
Fun. I'm intrigued. I'm gonna have to. Where's it at in town? Talk to me about that.
It's right off of Water Street, next to the Kettle Pot breakfast place, and then the two gas stations.
Okay.
It has a really weird parking lot where it's like completely slanted. It's kind of hard to get in and out of, but they've been there forever. Every British person I've asked that has gone to Central in the past knows about Happy's. So.
All right, I'm gonna go next time I'm in town. Any other questions for Curtis? All right, Tyler, you're the grand finale. Talk to us about what you selected, Tyler.
So for my wine, I chose a Smith & Hook 2014 proprietary red blend from the Central Coast. I bought it at Super One Foods in Ellensburg, and it was discounted from $25.18, $19.58, which was a good deal. One thing that stood out to me was the labeling itself, and the wine had as you guys were talking about earlier, a shelf talker on it. And it gave wine enthusiast scores on it, along with their description, like a short summarized description, which drew me in. But the wine itself, it's more of a dark, I'd say, red. And then on the nose, I'm getting more of a dark berry, I'd say, like a blackcurrant, maybe plum, blackberry, I'd say.
Okay.
Along with some leather. And then on the palate, I get again dark berries, blackcurrant again, some cherry, maybe some vanilla.
Okay.
To pair it with, I'd probably pair it with more smoky foods, like a smoked chicken. Wine enthusiast paired it with a grilled steak. So more grilled foods, I'd say. But
are you happy with it?
I am for the price that I'm getting. I definitely like it. It's more bold for, a red, more than I'm used to, but I like it.
Okay.
But I'd say it's pretty cost effective. The discount definitely helped. Stayed under $20, which was my my quota. But as for Super One Foods itself, it has a good selection of wine. It has a long aisle on one side. It has complete wine from around the world. It's based more on varietals, varietal by varietal, rather than location.
Yeah. I find that to be really common in grocery stores. They cater to the novice consumer. So it's broken down by style, reds, whites, rosés, rather than by geography, which that used to be the old school way. If you go to like Esquin wine merchants in downtown Seattle, it's very regionally specific. Germany, the Alsace, France, Bordeaux, Burgundy, what have you. But that does make it much more user-friendly to shop.
Yeah.
Were you overall pretty happy with the selection that you saw there?
Yeah, they have a wide variety, anything from reds to whites. I wouldn't say it has as much as Safeway or Fred Meyer's, but still a good selection nonetheless.
Okay, a little smaller. Did you see a cooler section? Can you buy wines chilled?
Not in the aisle where most of the wine was. If anything, I'd assume it'd be by like the beers and everything, which they have a wide selection of that also.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Tyler? Super One Foods. Okay, so at this point, we are just going to have some casual chat time. I am going to share. Ooh, Curtis, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask my parents, because they have the same wine as me. I just wanted to ask what they thought of it, because every palate and nose is different.
So mine's actually 2016. We went to Total Wine in Federal Way, so that's where we are, and that they didn't have the 18. They had like 2 cases of 16, and that was it. But the description you gave, I thought was right on, and even though it's a little bit older, I can still see all the way through it. It's not sweet at all. So when you were talking about the raspberry finish on a cheesecake, I understand what you're talking about with the tartness, but there's no real sweetness to it in my mind. Really drinkable, really like easy, tasty, little bit tart. I mean, those are the words I know. What do you think?
No, I just thought I was kind of on the earthy side of the nose part of it, but the finish part of it, it's really, to your point, it's really drinkable for sure. And that finish part of it, I call it like a soft finish. So for me, that makes it super drinkable. So
and really light for a red.
And the price point on that at Total Wines is a couple bucks cheaper than you paid for it over in Ellensburg, which is understandable.
Yeah. I'm curious, what is the alcohol content on the 16?
13.0.
So mine's 11.4, which is interesting.
That's low.
I think so. That
is interesting.
13 is also low for red wine, and I think that has part to do with how drinkable it is, because you don't have that 14 to 15% flapping you in the face.
Yeah.
I was, because when I originally saw it, I was like 11%. Like that's super low for red wine, especially Sangiovese, which is like a hot grape.
Yeah. And there's no residual sugar, you would say, in either of those two
none.
vintages. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned like the sweetness is because it, like, to me it's just like attacking you and then it falls off.
And there is an inverse relationship between alcohol percentage and residual sugar. As alcohol gets higher, residual sugar gets lower, and vice versa. So that's interesting that it's dry and low alcohol.
Yeah.
Did anybody else try anything along with our students that they wanted to chat about or share their experience with the wine? Okay, I will mention what I have been drinking lately. I mentioned that I'm a Costco shopper these days. So I found 2 at Costco that I'm pretty happy with that are very reasonably priced and local. So one is Hedges CMS. This is their white blend. This is predominantly Chardonnay, but it does have a little bit of Marsanne and Sauvignon Blanc in it. Or actually, I misspoke. It is predominantly Sauvignon Blanc. It has a smaller amount of Chardonnay and Marsanne in it. Drinks really floral, not oaky at all, not very grassy, very fruity and round. And then the other one that I found that I was a little excited about was Mark Ryan, which is, these are both local, by the way. Backing it up, this guy's over in Red Mountain, just about an hour and a half outside of campus. I've taken students over there on field trips, so it's really fun to see this bottle available at Costco, $8.99. And then this guy was, I think, $11.99 at Costco. And this is the Vincent by Mark Ryan. And this is a very oaky Chardonnay. Not particularly my favorite style. It's a little heavier in oak than I prefer, but a really high quality bottle. I could see how someone who really enjoys oak would really like that. So just a couple that I tried and was happy with. Anybody else want to share anything that they have found over the last couple of weeks that they are enjoying? Eric, any good beers for us? I think you might be muted. There we go.
You're still muted somehow. There we go.
Sorry, my mic's got a mute too. Beers. Yeah, I've been drinking a dark Hefeweizen lately. So it's called a Dunkelweiss. It's a German kind of mid, 1300s, 1400s beer. So ancient. And it has notes of banana and a little bit of chocolate and a little bit of clove. And it turned out really nice. So that's one that I brewed. I haven't been purchasing alcohol for a while, so I've been mostly brewing what my students brewed. So that was one of the last ones that was brewed of the year. So I had that one recently, but that one's really fun. It's kind of like a banana chocolate cake, banana bread thing. So I like some of these beers that have a little bit more flavor and fruit forward and stuff, and overlaps between wine and cider and beer. So those are usually my favorite.
I've got a question for you.
You bet.
So in terms of flavor profile, when you're talking about those notes of chocolate and banana, what does that correspond to? Is that a specific yeast strain? Is that the mash? Like where do those fun characteristics come from?
So the chocolate is from the malt, from the grain. So the roasted, lightly roasted grain will be chocolate, and then if it's bitter, it'll be coffee. Okay. So like a stout or a dark ale. And then the banana's coming, it's an ester produced by the yeast strain.
Okay.
Yep. So this is a traditional German Hefeweizen yeast strain. Hefe actually means yeast. So if you get a Widmer's Hefeweizen, there's no yeast flavor forward. It's just cloudy like a Hefeweizen. But so banana and clove are the standard Hefeweizen yeast flavors. So one is an ester and one is a phenolic. Okay. So we talk about our yeast strains being puff positive, phenolic positive, or phenolic negative. So they can either make clove or not. Most of them don't. Most of the new age strains don't make clove.
Interesting. Are you familiar with the Wells banana bread beer? Yeah.
Yep, they use banana.
They actually use banana. Okay.
Yep, they use an extract. So there's a banana extract you can buy as well.
So they did it with an extract then, right? So
yeah, I don't know if that's cheating or some other crap. It's cooler to get it from the yeast. The yeast banana note, the ester isoamyl alcohol or acetate is can also come off a little bit chemical. So it's there's a balance there. And the good Hefeweizens from Germany will be really forward on the banana part of it, maybe a little bit less on the clove. Sometimes you get bubble gum, so the clove is a spice note that can kind of give a bubblegum note to the fruit. So Hefeweizens are really cool because they kind of shift and they're very estery and very flavor forward.
Fun. That's fun to hear about. I'd be curious to hear your take on this, but my understanding is if people gravitate towards red wine, essentially, they will also like really dark coffee. They will also like the porters and the stouts. Those flavor profiles tend to be all in the same kind of category. Have you heard that before? Or do you find that to be true?
I'm not sure on that. Yeah, because it's almost the robustness of it, right? The full flavor forward. So I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Along that same route, I read this article that said that people who grew up drinking a lot of coffee have a much easier time going into darker red wines.
Yeah.
Because the tannic structure is
Similar.
very similar. It's almost identical. So for me, I've been drinking coffee since I was like 8 years old. So it was a super easy transition into darker red wines.
You're more like 2.
2. There you go.
Bad parenting.
But now I have a good taste in wine, so thank you.
So this is
like
one,
stouts, too?
a Costco.
I do, yeah.
Can you see it? Costco one. It's called Cune.
Okay.
Cune. Rioja Reserva 2015. We've been buying this one regularly. It's somewhere between $8 and $12, and it has a 93-point sticker on it. And we find it to be really drinkable, a little heavier, I think, than the one Curtis mentioned, the Sangiovese, but not by much. And really reliable, good Costco.
We're Costco people too.
Yeah, you know, I will say too, we actually have a alumni named Tamara Lindahl, who is the wine buyer for Costco. So that's another reason I enjoy Costco's selection.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's doing a great job.
I'll pass that on.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the whole group. With almost everywhere in Washington going into phase 2 and 3, with tasting rooms opening up with restrictions and what else, do you guys see yourselves like, and then with breweries as well, do you guys see yourself wanting to go out to tasting rooms now? I know it's still kind of scary. I'm asking as someone who just got hired at a tasting room, so it's a little bit personal for me. But when I worked a day over the weekend, and every single seat was full. At least to our restrictions, it was like 25% capacity inside, and then we had the patio area. Are there things that wineries and tasting rooms could do to make it more comfortable, or things like that? Or would you want to go in and buy straight from the winery and take it home now that you can just go and buy bottles and not actually do a tasting? Or are you still just going to do grocery stores and curbside pickup and things like that?
I actually have a quick story. We went boating in Chelan on Sunday, and we actually haven't been anywhere in 90 days. We've been fully home, and so I felt like I was ready to go ahead and go out on the lake on the boat. But as we were on the boat, I realized I wanted to get some of my Malbec from Tunnel Hill Winery, so I gave them a call and asked them to pick up, and we couldn't remember which vintage I liked. And I said, "Oh, I wish I could come taste, but we're being pretty cautious." And she said, "Oh no, that's open, and I'm wearing a mask, and I can seat you away from people. We're not that busy." And so I think she was really reassuring and just kind of willing to work with people, and that made me feel reassured. And so we did sit outside and have a tasting. The first tasting I've gone to in 90 days. It was great. So yeah, I think just being understanding and communicating what they were doing, and that helped a lot. So we bought a lot of wine from them.
Right now, the only way I would go to a tasting is outside. No, definitely.
Yeah, me too.
Not inside.
Yeah.
Patio is definitely the way to go. And you can space the seats out a lot on the patios, and then you're not breathing on each other's necks.
Does your place have a patio?
Both locations do. Yep.
Is it by appointment? I was wondering about that.
So but it's by appointment inside. So if they want to sit inside, it's reservation only, and you have to reserve it 24 hours in advance. And then they have the tables spread out, and the 6 feet, whatever regulations else. Everyone's wearing masks. We do a 5 wine tasting, and we have, if I just had finished this one, I would have to take your glass, wash it, bring a new glass out to you with another wine. You can't use the same glass twice, even if it's the same person. So we were running the dishwasher constantly because we couldn't use the same glass twice in a row. We had to wash it every time beforehand. And then the patio seating, have you ever been to the Hollywood Boulevard kind of downtown Woodinville area? The wineries, there's like 4 wineries, and then they all share a patio. So the patio is just packed because it's all the same seating for each winery. But that was not reservation only because it's the seating for all of the other tasting rooms in that little strip mall type area. But yes, so to answer your question, reservations for inside was mandatory.
Interesting.
Sorry, I was just going to kind of add on to that. Me and Mackenzie actually also just got hired on at Cave B, and kind of just to give you guys a little bit of background on what we're doing here is we have a little piazza area So basically, it's this large circle with overhanging vines of Concord grapes. So Vitis vinifera is used in wine. Concord is more like grape juice and table grapes. So they have the Concord grapes around. So that's where we're doing our tastings. And then that's by appointment. And then we also allow walk-ins. But on our inside, we're not allowing tastings. We're only doing glass pours and bottle purchases. And then you're also required to wear a face mask inside. Like all employees, we're required to wear the face mask. And then we provide customers if they don't have one with a face mask as well. So yeah, it's keeping those precautions and just making sure everything's sanitary and wiped down is what we're trying to do as well, is just make sure our guests are comfortable. Is just the biggest thing, you know, making sure, you know, people are coming out and enjoying their time, but still can feel safe and reassured that we're being sanitary as well. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Do you guys have the same kind of protocol in terms of glassware? You just use the one and then you have to wash it and then bring a fresh one?
No, so, oh, my hair's weird, but as in glassware, I have my little Cave Bee glass here, but yay! I love to see that. But yeah, what we have here is, so basically, when someone does their tasting, they get to keep their glass. So with tastings, they get to keep them, but with glass pours and obviously bottle purchases, you're not getting a glass. You're required to return them. But yeah, I think that's a really cool thing KB does, is that you get to take this little glass as a souvenir, and everyone loves it. It's like a big surprise. Everyone's like, we get to take these? No way. It's like the coolest thing. So yeah.
I'm interested. Are they Riedel glasses?
No, they're not.
That makes sense, because Riedel glasses are significantly more expensive.
Exactly. If they were real, yeah, no. I'm not sure what brand this is. It has like a circle and then a dash and a G. So I'm not sure what brand that is. But
is it Spiegelau?
Yeah.
That would be Crystal though, if it was, and that would kind of be up there with Riedel.
Yeah, with
I don't know if it would
price,
be.
but
yeah. But I think that's a fantastic idea. I love a logo glass. I get excited when I get a logo glass. I have a little collection of them in my cabinet. So I think that's a fun way to market. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to chime in on this topic? Tasting rooms? I feel like everyone wants to. I'm dying to get out. I would love to. I'm over here on the west side. So we're in phase 2. And I think King County is where Woodinville is, and you guys are in phase 2 as well, right, Curtis?
Yeah, phase 2 as of like last week, is like 5 days ago.
Yeah,
so
I'm really recently. Close to that area. I'm pretty close to Woodinville, so maybe I'll come by and say hi at some point. What about weekdays? Do you feel like weekdays are as busy as weekends?
I haven't worked a weekday, so I can't speak to it.
I feel like that's, if I was going to test the waters, I might want to go on a weekday.
Yeah, for sure. Because so I usually work Friday, Saturday, Sundays. Fridays and Saturdays are our busiest. Sundays a little bit more low key, but we're only doing tastings on the weekends, so we can kind of avoid the bigger crowds on the weekdays. So like you were saying, you know, if you were wanting to come in, we're just doing the glass pours and bottle purchases on weekends. But yeah, that's just kind of keep the crowds down. But here in Ellensburg, we actually are going into phase 3 fairly soon. So we'll see how that goes. You know, it's I'm happy, but in a way it's still a little scary with COVID. And so we'll kind of see how that works out. And
yeah, a little uncertainty there, but exciting to be moving forward a little bit.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, I think we're pretty close to wrapping it up. Any last comments? Any suggestions for next month's topics?
Yeah, so we try to have a theme. So last theme was Washington. This theme was like supermarket edition. Is there anything that you would want to see in the future?
Should we do a label edition? I don't know. Tossing out ideas.
A surprise. It's a surprise.
It's a surprise, you guys. We'll send out the email. It'll be a surprise for everyone. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So this is being recorded. This will be uploaded to YouTube. yeah, and we'll email you guys next month about our next meeting. And we're also on social media too. So if you have Instagram or Facebook, you can find us, and we can keep you up to date with what we're doing. So
Yeah, the week before we always post every wine that each of us will be tasting. So if you do want to try to find it, about 4 or 5 days in advance on Instagram, we'll be posting each wine, and then
What's
the dates.
name? What's the name of
Siwu Wine Studies, all one word.
Siwu?
CWU.
Okay.
CWU Wine Studies, all one word.
I feel like I should know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, CW Wine Studies on Instagram, on Facebook, and then we have a YouTube as well, which is where this would be.
I'll put it in the chat section just for spelling and everything.
Oh, perfect. She'll do that real quick. So that should pop up down at the bottom. If you hit the button that says chat, you'd be able to see it right there at CWU Wine Studies. All right, well, I think we're going to close this session out. I'll ask our wine club to stay on for just a couple more minutes, and thank you to everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, guys. I'm going to stop recording.